EtherStation X. The story of the EtherStation X begins in a small R&D lab owned by a company that never intended to revolutionize gaming. In late 2017, Orion Systems, a mid-tier semiconductor firm, was exploring the possibility of creating a low-latency mobile chipset for autonomous devices. During internal testing, one engineer pushed the chip far beyond its intended specifications, accidentally creating a prototype that outperformed the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X benchmarks years before they officially launched. What was supposed to be a modest engineering experiment suddenly became a spark for something much bigger. The EtherStation X was not only powerful, it was elegant in its architecture. It was the first gaming device designed around a vapor phase cooling system integrated directly into the silicon layout. Instead of embedding fans or radiators, the console used a sealed thermal chamber that redistributed heat in real time, maintaining stable performance without spikes or throttling. The early internal test demos showed environments with a level of fidelity that even high-end gaming PCs at the time struggled to achieve. If the EtherStation X had released, it would have entered the market at a time when no other console could match its raw performance. But despite the extraordinary potential, Orion lacked the manufacturing infrastructure and global supply chain required to compete with giants like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Investors balked at the forecasted expenses. The dream slipped back into storage, buried under layers of corporate caution. The EtherStation X became the first ghost console, a masterpiece of engineering that almost changed history but never reached the public Titan Core Omega. Following the collapse of the EtherStation X project, a group of its engineers broke away from Orion Systems to pursue their vision independently. They founded a startup called Viridian Interactive, determined to bring forth a new era of gaming hardware. Their first and only project was the Titan Core Omega. Unlike its predecessor, the Omega was built with gaming as the central focus from the very first sketch. The Titan Core Omega was not designed to compete with traditional consoles. It was meant to transcend them. It used a hybrid neural rendering engine that adjusted graphics output based on player behavior. When a player moved through open worlds, the console predicted where their attention would shift next and pre-rendered micro details that other systems would load seconds later. This gave gameplay an uncanny feeling of seamlessness, as though the world existed fully rendered at all times. But innovation carries risk, and Viridian's financial foundation was fragile. To manufacture the Titan Core Omega at scale, they required an extraordinary supply of rare superconductive materials. A global shortage made costs skyrocket, pushing the estimated retail price far beyond what any normal consumer could pay investors. Withdrew, unable to justify a console that required bleeding-edge components unavailable at mass production levels. Titan Core Omega existed only in 2 prototypes, both sealed away after Viridian filed for bankruptcy, Novasphere 1. In 2020, when cloud gaming was still in its infancy, a global tech conglomerate named Nebula Core Industries envisioned a device that would merge the capabilities of local hardware with ultra-low latency cloud streaming. They called it the Novasphere 1, a console that effectively erased the boundaries between physical and digital computation. The Novasphere 1 was created to become the first truly hybrid gaming platform. Unlike traditional consoles that relied solely on local GPUs, Novasphere 1 blended local performance with distributed cloud architecture. When the local hardware reached maximum load, remote servers seamlessly absorbed the overflow, creating a dynamic system where games never stuttered or paused to catch up. The console's internal GPU ran cool, quiet, and shockingly fast because it never needed to bear the full computational burden. Unfortunately, the Novasphere 1 faced a hurdle that no engineering team could overcome: infrastructure. Most regions around the world lacked the fiber optic standards necessary to support the low latency environment the console required. Testing environments relied on tightly controlled internal networks that did not reflect consumer conditions. After 3 years of development and hundreds of millions of dollars spent, the project was quietly shelved. Nebula Core preserved the prototypes as reminders of what gaming could have been if the world had been ready. Quantum Dusk RZ. The Quantum Dusk RZ was one of the most ambitious hardware projects ever conceived. Developed by Redwood Zenith Labs in 2021, it was the world's first console engineered around quantum-enhanced processors. While not true quantum computers in the traditional sense, these processors use quantum tunneling techniques to reduce energy loss and accelerate complex operations far beyond classical semiconductor limits. Quantum Dusk RZ could simulate physical environments with incredible accuracy. For the first time, developers could build worlds with fluid dynamics behaving exactly like real water, fire spreading with natural unpredictability, and light refracting with scientific precision. The console excelled in rendering destruction, physics, environmental deformation, and AI decision-making. Enemies reacted intelligently, ecosystems evolved dynamically, and narrative-driven interactions felt uniquely personalized. But the Quantum Dusk RZ faced ethical, logistical, and legal barriers. Governments were wary of consumer devices containing advanced quantum-assisted chips. Security agencies raised concerns about encryption risks. The cost of the processors was astronomical, and Redwood Zenith had no realistic path to consumer-friendly pricing. Amid mounting political pressure, the project was abruptly terminated, leaving only a handful of heavily restricted prototypes locked away in secure facilities. Solaris Edge Prime. While most other unreleased consoles died due to cost or politics, the Solaris Edge Prime suffered from an entirely different issue. Internal conflict developed by Soliton Entertainment, an experienced gaming company with decades of software expertise. The Solaris Edge Prime was meant to be a rebirth for a company struggling to stay relevant in a competitive market. The Solaris Edge Prime was meant to be the ultimate developer-friendly console. Instead of focusing solely on raw power, Soliton created a multi-layered architecture where developers could access hardware features at varying levels of depth. Newcomers could build simple, elegant games easily, while experienced developers could dive deep into performance tuning without wrestling with limitations. Despite overwhelming internal excitement, Soliton made a critical misstep. They invested heavily in the hardware but failed to secure software partnerships. When early developers discovered the system's potential, many loved it, but few were willing to commit to exclusivity. Competitors offered better revenue shares, larger audiences, or more aggressive marketing support. Without strong launch titles and lacking the capital to compete against giants, Soliton reluctantly pulled the plug. The Solaris Edge Prime became a legend inside the company, a symbol of artistic ambition that business realities could not support. Nebulon Mirage V. The Nebulon Mirage V holds a strange place in gaming history. It was the most visually innovative console ever built, yet never shown to the public. Nebulon Labs designed the Mirage V as a holographic gaming system, capable of projecting 3D volumetric scenes without requiring glasses or headsets. Instead of using a traditional display, the Mirage V emitted light patterns that formed free-floating holograms directly above the console surface.